Hey, it's Adam from Outlier and another Super Bowl preview episode. I brought in my buddy Jeff Parles, really Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Look at you with the nice mantle behind you and just your in your home office. I'm not
Oh,
used to not seeing you in the
it's just
studio.
behind my living space here, Adam.
Yeah,
It's
I
always
know. You have a this.
it's good to see you too. And the one thing I always love when talking to you, I know I'm getting fish behind me. I know it.
It's
I know
it's
it.
my
So
that's I've got that as my gimmick. And it's great because like people like come on this and they're just like, oh, this is kind of like your Wayne's World. It's just and I'm like, yeah, it is, except it's got fish posters. But we are not here to talk about fish. We're here to culminate some conversations that you and I had last August, last July, NFL season, Super Bowl, Chiefs Niners. First of all, tell me what were your takeaways that you had from AFC and NFC championship games, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you're kind of feeling initially. As we got 2 weeks, so you got lots of time to change your mind, but love to hear like something that surprised you from this weekend first, like from both the games.
start with the AFC game. For Baltimore's perspective, this feels like just a gigantic missed opportunity where you have the game at home. It's the first time that the Ravens have had a home AFC title game. They hadn't had one since they were the Baltimore. That city hasn't had one since they were the Baltimore Colts. Um, but Kansas City got shut out in the second half. And you would have anticipated, all right, Baltimore's defense shuts them out in the second half. They're going to find a way, come back, win the game. And they just didn't. And that's a credit to the Kansas City defense, which has been, Adam, the best unit on the team all year long.
Yep.
And now I think the biggest difference is more of a playoff takeaway than just an AFC title game takeaway. The biggest difference with the Kansas City offense is Patrick Mahomes is not pressing. He's not forcing. We saw that a lot in the regular season. Now, it does help that your receivers are actually catching the ball now, where Kelce is a different dude this postseason. Really, that Week 18 sit out really has helped Travis Kelce. He looks healthy for the first time all year. MVS has two of the most important catches of the entire postseason right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy just how different it is with those receivers making plays for Kansas City, where they went the whole year without making any of them. So, more than anything, Adam, it's more of a playoff takeaway more than anything is Mahomes looks like he did in his MVP season a year ago. Not the Mahomes we saw this year, which was his worst season as a starter by far, in all honesty. And here they are with this weak, quote unquote, weak team for them. And here they are in the Super Bowl again. And it kind of just shows that they've crossed the Rubicon into being I don't want to say a full-on dynasty, but they have plenty of dynastic qualities at this point. So
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
win Vegas in a little more than 10 days, they're a dynasty. I don't care that people in your neck of the woods would be aggravated by that, Adam, but they would be. I mean, they would have won at that point. They would have won 3 out of 5. They would have been to 4 out of 5.
Oh yeah, it qualifies.
And there's no arguing. And in a year where look, going into it, we thought, how it's going to be really hard for Kansas City to repeat. They got to get through Burrow. Yes, he got hurt. They have to get through potentially Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he got hurt. But they still had to get through Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who were players that people would say, hey, it's going to be hard to get through those guys year after year after year. I know they own Buffalo's soul in the games that matter. But here they are once again in the AFC with an AFC title in the Super Bowl and playing a Niners team, Adam. Let's face it, they have not been the same team since they took the beating from the Ravens on Christmas. They just haven't been the same team they were beforehand. Look, Brock Purdy has played well enough in these games, and when San Francisco has had to have it, he has produced, which you have to give him a ton of credit for. But I'm more concerned about the San Francisco defense.
Yeah.
That really, we're going back to early December here when they played like a long time ago. That the last time they looked like a dominant unit was when they played Jacksonville. They looked like a dominant unit, dominant pass rush. Since then, they've been an average unit at best. Green Bay did whatever they wanted in the first half on them. Detroit did whatever they wanted on the first half on them. Now, credit the Niners. Halftime adjustments, much better in the second half. good enough to
Sure.
win both games and get to the
Dan
Super Bowl.
Campbell losing his mind in this past game was
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
look, the Campbell thing is interesting because there are 4 pivot points of that game. Okay, 4 pivot points for Campbell decisions. And in the first half, where I think he
yep,
got it right with kicking
yep,
the
I
field
agree.
goal,
Yeah,
because you don't have the advantage of having them pinned deep like they would have if that was like with 4 minutes to go in the half.
yep,
So I got the kicking the field goal. The one when they're up 14, I had no problem with going for that. No problem at all. You get a touchdown there, game's over. And again, this is the whole caveat with this whole thing. Badgley's a bad kicker outside.
he's been a bad kicker his whole career.
He's only
He's
been
bad on the
reasonable
Chargers. He's been bad. Yeah,
yeah, he's only been reasonable indoors. That's the only time
yeah,
he's been reasonable. When he's been outside, he's been bad. I think it's a point with the take the points crew this week. Just the full on takes the points crew in all the circumstances. We had it wrong. The only one, like again, the third one, yeah, you're losing. I would have personally kicked the field goal, but you know what? It's more of a coin flip situation. Niners called a good defensive play, but they made a play. Give them credit.
yeah,
And then the only thing I really had a big issue with was that sequence at the end.
yeah,
You can't run the ball on third down. And if you do, you can't burn the timeout. You're better
exactly.
off losing the 20 seconds to get into the fourth down play and keeping all 3 timeouts. Yes, it would have taken a ton to get that game tied, but you know what? They would have gotten the ball back with about 25 seconds and no timeouts.
Yeah,
Or throw an incomplete pass on third down, go for it on fourth down, fourth to 3 and out, you're getting it back with 40 seconds.
yeah,
So, yeah, that was the big one. That was the big one from Campbell. But look, the Niners were the best team in the NFC all year.
yeah. They have
And
been all year.
and I know that DVOA and the records and everything will say Baltimore is better than Kansas City. But I
Sure.
think when push comes to shove, we ended up with the 2 best teams. We ended up with basically the new version of what the New England Patriots were all those years, and the Niners, who are the team that is still trying to bust through and finally win one of these Super Bowls, where of course this group has been in the end. It's funny, the Niners have been in the NFC title game now 4 out of 5 years.
Yeah.
So like we're kind of looking at the Niners like being a Chiefs light, now at a chance to beat the Chiefs and finally bust through and win that Lombardi that has eluded them this millennium.
Yeah, look, my only real issue that I had with anything, like I think Campbell's a great coach. I think the Lions are still going to be good next year.
Yep.
And my only issue I had with what Campbell did is a learning experience of the fact that as soon as the second half starts, the clock is your enemy no matter what. And the timeout thing, you just can't do that because you had a chance of doing that. You know what? But there's a lot of other, like, that's not one play of why they lost or why they didn't. Like, the fact that they didn't capitalize on other things and San Francisco did is what happened. What I still don't get in that game is how Brock Purdy did not go over his receiving yardage. He was minus 150 at halftime to throw for 300 yards, and he had what 264. But look, this Kansas City team, in my opinion, this is the worst Kansas City team under the Mahomes era, but with the best defense. And all that matters in the playoffs is how teams are playing at that time. And like that, with that, I kind of want to like we honestly at the end of the day, arguably we did get the 2 best teams, and like no one would say, yeah, the Chiefs are the worst team in the AFC. This is like a complete mismatch. Look, we got at the very least, the 2 top 2-3 teams in both conferences. So with that said, I want to just pop up things on screen. I want to get into it. It's back to 2.5. Full disclosure, I'm on the Chiefs just because of defense, but I want to get some ideas from you, like sides, total. Did things jump out at you at first, and then I kind of want to look at a couple prop things or any players that you're kind of looking at or you think folks might want to look at?
Nothing on the total. I think the total's where it needs to be in that 46 and a half, 47 range. I have no problem with that. I would just I would steer clear. I would imagine that this game will probably come in the low 40s, but at some point, again, this Niner defense is showing me nothing. So I thought Buffalo, Kansas City was going to be a dead under game, and that game went way over. So it could play like that. On the side, look, I think people are a little too ingrained in their own ratings here. with the way this
Okay.
has been bet so far. I'm not surprised the initial action came on Kansas City. I'm not surprised there's been take back to not basically the original number of
Yeah.
2.5.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised
Yeah.
that this is
It went all the way back.
because look, the Niners, Adam, you know this. The Niners have been either number 1 or number 2 in the power ratings basically all year long.
Yes.
Even when they lost those 3 straight games in the middle of the season, they never really dipped further than 2.
Nope.
And Kansas
And 2 of
City,
those games were without Debo, who I think it is so clear, so very clear. Because when Debo, not to interrupt, but like when Debo left that Packers game, everything changed. When Debo was playing and they got him going in that game last week, everything changed in the other direction. So, yeah.
look, Debo and McCaffrey is very important. Those regular season games, McCaffrey wasn't 100% healthy either,
Yep.
and Debo obviously wasn't there. I am sitting on a 60-1 Debo Super Bowl MVP ticket. I know a lot will need to happen, but whatever. I did get 20. I did get $20 better than what it is
Nice.
now. So back to this. Kansas City's power rating has dipped as low as maybe even 10 for some people.
Yeah.
Like legitimately down into double digits, which hasn't happened in the Mahomes era, other than at the beginning of that first year where we didn't know what we were getting, and then burst onto the scene and they scored 40 plus against the Chargers and the Steelers back to back on the road to open that era. Which actually, it's again, remember that first home game with the Chiefs, when Mahomes was the official full starter, was against the Niners, as you remember. That was a game Garoppolo.
Oh yes, yes.
ACL that in that game. But regardless, teams are very different now, or at least San Francisco is. Obviously, no Hill on the Kansas City side, but in the end here, I think this is going to be square sharp, where the sharp quote unquote sharp bettors will be on the Niners, and the quote unquote square bettors will be on the Chiefs. I like the dog here. I like Kansas City. More so than the Brock Purdy angle, the Kyle Shanahan chokes in big games angle. Like, I don't care about that. The only thing I care about is the Niner defense has not looked good for the better portion of 6 weeks. And you better, in this game, know what the hell you're doing against a Kansas City offense that has found itself have the ability to be a competent offense and having Mahomes make good, smart decisions and guys getting open and guys making plays. I don't know if the Niner defense can slow Kansas City down. Kansas City's defense, I trust, to slow San Francisco down enough. The only concern is, can the Niners really get that run game going? But I like Kansas City outright. I'll very happily take a plus price on the Chiefs and Mahomes.
Yeah, I agree with you, and the no real ads. Like, my whole cap on this game is just that Kansas City defense. It's the Kansas City defense. Spags has them moving the right way and doing things the right way, and all my biases aside, as an Eagles fan against the Niners, I think that it's possible that you have a more talented team like the Niners, who have probably, if you looked at all like the skill, like the Debos and things in the world, like they do, like I'd rather take a Debo than an MVS. I'm sorry, I just would. But this Kansas City team, the Kansas City team is playing the best that it is right now. I think they have the better coach. I think they have the better quarterback, and I think they have better defense. And so for me, it just gets to be that simple. So nothing on the total, nothing on that. Have you looked at any props? Is there any players? We had like we're gonna have, as I like to say, and as you like to say, our favorite Delco accent, Mark Drumheller, will be on here next week, and he'll have some things that he likes. Yes, but we had Dan Newbert from Wager Talk was on here the other day, and he's like, I love Kyle Juszczyk, and we talked about Kyle Juszczyk. Guess what? We put out that we loved his line, and then his line moved. Obviously, things move very quickly. One, I'd love to know from you, for people watching, tips on betting player props with the Super Bowl, because obviously this is a very different game and animal. And just if there's any players that you're kind of looking at, we can kind of look at a couple.
If you're betting overs, bet them early. If you're betting unders, bet them late. That's the easiest advice I can give you, because everyone's, more times than not, unless if the numbers are off, the people are going to bet this thing, the numbers over. So if you like let's say Brock Purdy passing yards under, wait it out. Take it later. It's going to be, what is it right now, Adam? It's
we can, the Brock Purdy passing yards are
across
probably,
the board.
I'm going to guess like 250, 240. No, it's two. It's on an alt line right now. The Brock Purdy passing yards are at, and I remember a couple years ago I did this with Cooper Kupp, 243. I did an over on Cooper Kupp a couple years ago at like 68, and I did the under at 78 because it got bet way up, and I happily middled it at 70 some
So,
yards. But yeah,
if you like if you like Purdy over, bet it now. If you like it under, wait until next Friday. Again, it all depends on the game flow. Also, now with the new age books, who obviously have the possibility to bet these props in game, there's a lot of fun with that. So prop wise, I am few things I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at over 2.5 players with a pass attempt.
Ooh, that's a tried and true for me. I love that one.
I always love playing that. It doesn't always get there. I would not shock me if Travis Kelce throws a pass in this game.
Noah Gray was a quarterback in high school.
And also, of course, Blake Bell, the Belldozer, is on Kansas City as well. So, look, there are options of another person, and of course, God forbid, one of the quarterbacks gets injured, then that would get you there as well. The other things that I would look at Kyle Juszczyk props. Actually,
we all love Kyle Juszczyk.
Well, remember the last Super Bowl, Juszczyk scored a touchdown, and everyone won on that. So
he is, by the way, he is 12-1 for a touchdown, and he had a red zone attempt last week. He had a red zone target in the final game against Washington. He had a couple targets this year. Look, it's a dart. It's a dart. Like, again, like anything with these fringe players are going to be darts. I don't mind that on Juszczyk. And look, I know it's going to be square. I know it's going to be bet up, but I would be stunned if Travis Kelce doesn't have a huge game here. So we'll bet Travis Kelce over receptions and bet him. It's the over yardage, but that over yardage is going to be more than it should be. It's got to be like
7
receptions.
Right? Receptions,
I like
7.5
receptions
right now, right?
Yeah, 7.5 and plus money too. I mean, look, who else is there that's catching it? It's somewhere. I like it. I mean, Mahomes has a low A dot, which for the nerds out there, that stat. That's average depth of target. I always like to preface that it's a nerd stat, but it's a great nerd stat. He likes to throw it to these guys. I went back to the tried and true Pacheco attempts, which is just like Andy Reid is just determined to run him as much as possible. And but look, you can't go wrong with that. Is there anybody else that you could see possibly? Because I'd love to looking at alts, and so I adjust odds and I mess around. Who's somebody who we think could possibly have just like an absolute monster over game that appeals to you?
Again, I would look to Kelce on that, but that's shockish. If you want to go off the board on the Kansas City side, I would actually go with MVS, as ridiculous as that seems.
Let's see. Hold on. Let's mess around with that. Let's see.
It just seems that he's having a big postseason and actually catching the ball for the first time since he was with early Aaron Rodgers days in Green Bay, or at least early Valdez-Scantling days with Rodgers. You could try to ladder him. You could take a shot at that. It's a risky ladder, but you take a shot.
Well, that's a funny look. I mean, come on, we got to honor Sean. I think we should honor Sean Green and put together right now a small little bit of a play. I mean, what say you about an MVS over? Let's build something here. MVS, we could start it with this. MVS over 20. MVS 25 yards plus 120. We'll go simple. Okay, so that happened. So let's say if that happened, then what? We probably could think that there's probably going to be a Chiefs team total over. Like what else can we think of that we might want to kind of play around with that happens with that? I mean, obviously, there's the Mahomes over passing, but I just think that in a Super Bowl, I love unders too and things like that. But if we're looking at a couple things that we could do that. We could do it with an under. We'd have some nice reverse correlation if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, look, it's a game everyone has at least a few bets on. I'm sure there'll be props that pop up that like by next Wednesday will be like, oh, that number still seems off. I'm gonna bet it. I know me for the Super Bowl. I'll end up with more. The bigger question for you, Adam. So
Yeah.
the two Kansas City Super Bowl championships, okay? I
Uh-huh.
have bet the correct amount of points that Kansas City has scored in both of those games.
Oh,
As
wow.
ridiculous as that is. Now, I the first time I did it, I got lucky because remember Damian Williams had that touchdown when it didn't need to
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
I'm totally lucky. Last year I got lucky and it didn't punch it in after the holding on Bradbury. But I'm trying to figure out the number here for Kansas City where do I like can they get in the 30s? That's what the
I
question is.
mean, so it's funny because like for them, like I'm just looking at the Chiefs. So it's crazy because like obviously like it's priced to not like over for them to get 34 points is plus 550, which is crazy when you think about it, just in the grand scheme of things. That these are teams that I mean, I'm also used to betting Detroit Lions team total overs that are like minus 120. But so it looks like what their team total is sitting at around 23 and a half. So 24-17 is sort of like what is I believe sort of envisioned here for any, you know, like or 24-20 type of thing. So you don't have to go that far over. You could have them, you know, there's a I don't know why it would get there, but like look, if you think they get 4 touchdowns, it's 2-1. 28 points is plus 205. Look, it's an
No, I
offense with
look.
that kind of ceiling.
Yeah, look, we'll see. We'll see what these numbers are. I know Superbook is usually the one that I pick off from.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, yeah,
so
no. Their other one that I like. Well, the Super Bowl you mentioned. I was a holder of the now infamous Patrick Mahomes over rushing that
yeah,
became a under rushing. That was not fun for me. And the other one that I do like, and again, was talking with Sean Green, is the octopus. Which, for those that don't know, the octopus is when you score a touchdown and then you do a 2-point conversion, and it's with the same player who scored that touchdown. It's very, very doable. Like, look, it was easy last year because it was like Jalen Hurts is 100% going to do this. He's going to run in a touchdown. He will do it a 2-point conversion. There is, Pacheco's an option on that. Kelce's an option on that. CMC absolutely on that. So I might do that. I believe it was 12-1 on DK. That's like one of my favorite fun ones to mess around with. And I like an octopus for a team that I think is going to have to be coming from behind, which I do think for San Francisco, that's pretty likely here. So, all right, Jeff, I appreciate you coming by, man. And I'm sorry that I'm not going to be out there next week. I know you'll be entertaining everybody.
yeah, we'll be. Well, a lot of people are out here. There's all sorts of events and there's multiple Radio Row things out here, which is always fun.
That's
So
super wild.
a lot of
tell everybody where they can find you. Where can they see you?
So South Point Studio. Again, my show is Sports by the Book. We're now 7 days a week. I don't host all 7 days. Matt Neverett is in for me on Monday and Tuesday. But Wednesday through Sunday for me, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is 6 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock Pacific. Saturday and Sunday is now 11:30 a.m. Eastern, getting you ready for all those college basketball games that started noon East for an hour there on both Saturday and Sunday. We're 90 minutes on Saturday this week. This week will only be an hour on Sunday because of the no NFL schedule and a very light college basketball card on that Sunday. So there we are right now, Adam.
No, that's it. Look, it's great. I also remember when you started it. It's pretty awesome to watch. And for those, a reminder of the things that we're looking at. We're looking at Kyle. We're throwing a dart at Kyle Juszczyk touchdown. We're liking some MVS. And we like to just go back to Kelce because, like, he does it for Taylor, so it's going to be there. But look, Jeff, thanks for coming by.
I got a question for you. Are you going to Canada? Are you going to Canada to place that prop bet on the? Will there be a proposal on the field after the game?
No, I'm honestly. Look, if I can get Sim over at Cut's a social betting app. If I can get him to put it up, I tell him, I'm like, don't put this. I mean, if someone will take the yes, it's just very silly, because if it's the only way it is a yes is if it's previously been done and it hasn't been leaked. And I do not see a world where that's happened. So because you cannot like not be able to leak a proposal that they already did. It would have leaked by now.
I don't know about that. If they win the Super Bowl, I don't think it happens. It's too quick.
I don't think it happens either.
Going on 5 months. But hey, you never know. You never know, Adam. You never know.
No, you never know. I mean, the one that I like is number of times Patrick Mahomes will be compared to Tom Brady, because I know that it's like there's like an over under on that, and I like that because I love to bother New England Patriots fans as much as possible as they watch Patrick Mahomes. I mean, look, the Brady's great, Brady's awesome, Brady's the GOAT, but Patrick Mahomes, like this Chiefs team is pretty incredible, and obviously it angers people up in my neck of the woods.
Yes, it does.
But for Jeff, I'm Adam Rosenberg. Again, we're gonna have a ton of videos coming out for Super Bowl. Next Wednesday, we're gonna have a whole live show of just nonstop people coming through. I might even make Jeff come on again. We'll see if he wants to. But thanks a lot for coming by, and good luck with your bets.